Yall Hey, it's Monica. Welcome to the Hey Yall Hey morning show here on Facebook and YouTube. We are happy to be here this morning.
Good morning, everyone. It is Casey, and I am so excited to be here. We have such a fun packed show today.
Hey, y'all. Hey, this is Alicia from Country Mama Musings, and we're so glad that you've joined us here today for yet another episode of Hey, y'all. Hey. I want to start out our episode on a serious note. We want to make sure that we send our prayers and thoughts with everyone who is in the path of Hurricane Adelia. We want to make sure that you are prepared. Don't panic. It's better to be prepared than to be panicked. And make sure you have all of your ducks in a row so that you're prepared for this nasty storm coming your way. We've got lots of ideas and things on our broadcast to help you be prepared for such instances. So go back and listen to those. But if you don't get a chance to, that's okay. We just want you to be prepared. We want you to be safe. And we want you to know that we're thinking of you. Now that we've got that out of the way, I do want to mention to everyone that we have a special guest with us here today on our Hey Y'all Hey radio show. We have Ann Dale from Ann Dale Homestead. She's going to be joining us this morning for our radio show here. And she's also going to be joining us for the second part of season 4 for our podcast for Round the Hay Bale. And we are so excited to welcome her in. So I'm going to let her introduce herself now.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Hi, everybody. Hey, y'all. Hey. I'm Ann Dale from Andale Homestead. I do a little gardening. We have some chickens. We live on about 1 acre in a suburban neighborhood. And my husband and I are both retired. And so I get to share a little bit about life. I've been around the sun a few times and try to share some positivity in the world. But I am so excited to be joining Round the Hay Bale crowd.
Well, we're absolutely thrilled to have you. And
So
you have
excited.
so much knowledge to share. And you were kind enough to join us for episode 9 on Round the Hay Bale for pantry prepping part 1. You had so much to share with us, and we had such a great time. We made it a 2-parter. So we're going to be discussing a little bit today about part 1, what we discussed in there. And I'm going to throw it on over to one of my other co-hosts here, and let's see if they'd like to get things started about that episode.
Well, I will say I love that episode. We were just talking about that earlier before we came on here that, I was wondering, were we going to have enough to talk about? Are we going to have enough to talk about for 2 episodes? And you know what? It was amazing. We had so much fun. We played a little round robin that Alicia started, and we really had a good time discussing all the things that you need to put in your pantry, how we're kind of putting things in our pantry. And I think it's awesome because I feel like a lot of the things that people are doing right here in the beginner's homesteading guide is falling right in line with what we talked about with pantry prepping and what's going on in the
Absolutely.
world right now. I mean, prices are going up, but people are having natural disasters that are getting ready to happen in their area, and they need to be prepared.
That's right.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, up till just a few years ago, I didn't have stuff stocked in my pantry or my kitchen. I went weekly grocery shopping, planned the meals, and that's what we had. And then it began to get to a point where, oh my gosh, the grocery stores are empty. I had and Worth and I were getting older and the prices were going up so high and our salary was not. So it was a situation where we discovered that we needed to garden, we needed to prepare. I needed to be ready if a truck hit the electric line and it went out for 3 weeks. What would I do in my home to be able to bug in, to stay in my own home? And that's all about what you have in your pantry.
Yeah, it's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you bring up an important point is bugging in. And that's something that my family and I discuss here all the time. When I show things to my son that I have prepared in case we need to go somewhere, he's like, we're not going anywhere. We're all coming to the farm. We're bugging in at the farm. That's where we're going. And
That's
so
right.
everything is prepared in my pantry, not just for my husband and myself, but for my 2 sons that live here locally, my 2 daughter-in-laws that live with them, and those 4 grandchildren. So I am keeping everything ready for what is that, for 8, 10 people in my one pantry. And
Right.
you have to have that for when you need to bug in.
Yes.
Agreed. And I just wanted to say, because I actually was listening back to our podcast yesterday when it was released, we had so much fun shooting it. But I was sitting and listening to it. And one thing that we did not mention, we played a fun round robin. I won't go into what we all chose in our round robin, but none of us mentioned coffee. And I have, because our morning show is in the morning, I have to have coffee. I thought it was funny that none of us thought coffee. But that's
Oops.
another important. We thought of all the other good stuff. Y'all need to go and listen.
Oh my
But
goodness.
You bring up a good point though. And I do have long-term coffee stores in my pantry. And what I have done is I have the 5-gallon buckets with the gamma lids. And I have 3 separate ones, 3 separate buckets. Each bucket has at least 1 or 2 bags of coffee in it, but I get the whole coffee beans, because once those coffee beans are already ground, then they're going to dry out. They're going to lose those natural oils. So I have the whole coffee beans. Then I have in one container, I have a hand grinder. So we don't have to depend on batteries or power or anything. So we can grind our own coffee beans. And then in another one, I have a French press. So if I don't have any way to, use my coffee maker, I've got the French press where we can just heat up some water over a campfire, pour it over those grounds that we're going to grind by hand, and then we can have a French press coffee out, in the front yard or something if bad times hit. So you have to think of all those elements. It's nice to put your coffee away, but how are you going to make it? How are you going to grind the beans if you have whole beans? And what are you going to do about all that? So that's one thing that we've thought ahead on. And what I do then is when I buy new bags of coffee to bring into the pantry, I'll take the older ones out of the buckets and replace them with the newer ones.
Oh,
So it's always in a rotation,
that's
because
awesome.
they're gonna last. There's no doubt. But again, those oils, those natural oils, are they're gonna deplete over time. And that's one thing I really love about having French press as well, is you get all those natural oils in your coffee that's not soaked up by a coffee filter. So I love having it that way. So, it's a great point that you bring up, Casey. And our podcast was all about pantry prepping. And so we really encourage everybody to go over and take a listen to that podcast. We had a lot of fun with Andale on that. But you know what it's time for? It's time
for
do-do-do-do.
subscriber comment call out. Pew pew pew.
This has become one of my favorite parts of our radio broadcast every week. We love to go through our Beginners Homesteading Guide Facebook group, which we're over 67,000 members strong now. And we love that everybody is sharing all of the great things that they're doing on their homestead. So our first call out this morning is Julia Thompson. Great last name, by the way. And she shared with us how milk was on sale in her area, and she decided to go ahead and make some yogurt from it. And that got a lot of interaction in the group, because people are like, what? What do you mean you make your own yogurt? Please tell me how to do that. And I think it was really great. We got quite a few comments on that post, and we got a lot of interaction on that post. Several of you in that group were tuned into what Julia was doing. So I think that was really great. I want to ask... Let's ask Monica. Monica, have you ever had the opportunity to make your own yogurt? I have not.
No, actually, I have not. I've always wanted to. I just haven't gotten a chance to do it yet. I just haven't actually sat down and put my head to it. So I haven't done it. I imagine, Casey, have you made yogurt before? I feel like you would have.
I actually have not made yogurt.
What?
I have not made yogurt, but with milk, I have done cheese. And I was looking, when I was looking at this post, I noticed that it's on a 2-burner, which is absolutely adorable. What is that? Tupperware? Is it a Tupperware one?
Faberware, Faberware, Farberware.
Harborware.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I could see that she was doing all of that. I do mine in my Instapot. Has any of y'all done cheese in the Instapot before? Like when milk is,
Well, that's what I would use if I was going to do it, because I do have several instant pots. I have like 4 instant pots.
Okay. There's no shame. There's no shame in our game, Monica. Okay.
Well, I am missing out. I don't have an Instapot. So.
And
Dale.
You need an instant pot.
Okay.
It is
it's
worth
the best for everything.
Yes.
Okay.
I get my extra. I got my first when they first came out as a birthday gift. My mom was always saying, "What can I get you? You're so far away. What can I get you for your birthday or for Christmas?" And so I'm like, "Well," and so basically she bought me, I think, almost every Instant Pot because I
Okay.
find them out on if I find them on sale, I'm like, "Oh, I need an Instant Pot, Mom," and she's like, "Are you joking me?" But I have different sizes. I have different sizes, and I even have the one that's like an air fryer. So I have a
Okay.
problem. I have an
My
addiction,
Instant Pot
but
stays on the
yeah,
counter all the time. It's always on the counter
yes.
because I'm always using it. And Dale, what about you? Have you ever made yogurt, even if it's not in an Instant Pot?
I have not. I mean, this is a clear house here. None of us have made yogurt yet,
Yeah.
but it looks like Julia Thompson has a really good idea. So, it's inspirational to be able to
Right.
see what other people are doing. And it gives us that idea of being that it might not be very hard. It's just a process of doing it.
I think it's a process, like you said, of doing it, and it's also just getting over that fear of trying it for the first time. I know
Right.
Right.
that that's kind of, I'm going to admit it, that's kind of been my reason. I just haven't even branched out because I just don't think I can. But
Right.
maybe Julia will inspire us to maybe give us a try. I know you've got your milk, and then you just add yogurt cultures to it. So if you get like a really good Greek yogurt at the
Hmm.
store, then you just add it to your milk, and there's a process that you go through, and it will take that one little bit of Greek yogurt to your milk, and it turns the whole batch into Greek yogurt. And
Oh,
so, and then you can add your fruits or whatever it is that you want to do. I just haven't brought
oh, well,
myself to
shoot.
try it,
I could do
but
that.
you can do it on your stovetop, or you can do it in your Instant Pot that has a yogurt setting. And I see people
Mhm.
doing great things with that. I've just never broken down I got to tell you, I, I'm not a huge yogurt fan. I have to be in a mood. There's something about the tanginess of it sometimes that if I'm not in the
Hmm.
mood for it, I can't do it. But if
Right.
I'm in
Hmm.
the mood for it, I love it.
Right.
Me
So
too.
it's just one of those things. So Monica,
Well, I was looking at the lady Julia that shared that your post with us, and if you notice, the day after she made that post, which was yesterday, just a day ago, she posted a beautiful picture on her counter, and it is 46 jars of canned corn. So right after that post, she
Ooh,
did share with us again 46 jars, pint jars. It looks like actually no, they look like quart jars. Oh my word, they
Julia is busy.
she
beautiful.
is.
But I think that there's a reason. I mean, she's sharing these things with us, but it's really encouraging because it's a really good reminder and encourager. We need to suck up. We need to be able to have these things. And if we feel that call to provide for our family as to prepare ahead, then we should. Um, you know, my my cousin lived in Florida and she knows she's going to get hit by this hurricane. She's down the Tampa area, so she knows at least the swells, the whatever that water part is that comes up. She knows she's going to get part of that. She went to the grocery store because it was her normal shopping day, and it was empty. And she was like,
Right.
"Okay." And I'm like, "Well, you should have stuff ready." Now she's just a newbie down to Florida. She just moved there from Maryland, but
Right.
she has nothing, and she has a little girl. And I'm like, "You have to be ready." So it's important
Mhm.
to be prepared. So Casey.
Agreed. I completely agreed. I first want to say, just a hello to everybody in the chat. Our chat is blowing up today. And to let everybody know, if you can't hear Monica all the way, she is on assignment at a location. So she is on location. She's not in the studio with us this morning. But I wanted
Technical difficulties.
Right. I wanted to comment on Julia's post because Julia is doing the same collaboration that I have joined in, and that's called the Every Bit Counts Challenge. I've tried to peer pressure both Monica and Alicia into doing it. So, and Dale, you're next for next year. Be prepared.
Okay.
Um, and basically, what it is you are canning, freezing, preserving, dehydrating something every day for the month of August. And it's supposed to make your life a little simpler so you're not having to do these giant canning or giant freeze drying or dehydrating batches at a time. And I've noticed her in the Facebook group that she has a lot of wonderful posts. So definitely go check Julia out because she has done some great things for this Every Bit Counts challenge.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. And you know
challenge.
what I think is important is I think it's important for everybody who's listening today, for everybody who listens to our podcast, and for everybody who's in our Facebook group to recognize the fact that, I don't know anything about Julia or about what her situation is, but what she's doing, everyone can do. It doesn't matter whether you're living out on an acreage, or if you have a farm or a homestead, you don't have to have that. You can do it if you live in the suburban area. You can make yogurt
That's
if
right.
you live in an apartment. You
Yes.
don't have to have a homestead. If you live in an apartment or a condo and you see that milk is on sale and you have a stove and you have a nice pan to work with, you too can make yogurt and put it up for your family.
There
So
you go.
you don't have to have a homestead. You don't have to have milk from the cow.
Mhm.
I think that's what's encouraging is with this beginners homesteading group, it we want everybody to get out of that mindset that you have to be on a farm to do these things. You can do them whenever, wherever. And a really great point to that is, how did she get all that corn? We don't know. Everybody might assume she grew it.
That's
You
right.
can get that corn at a farmer's market. You
Mhm.
can get that corn from a neighbor because Casey, you just had a big score. It doesn't matter
I
where you live.
did.
Now's
I
the
did.
share with us what you got.
I was so excited and so blessed that we have some dear friends that are an older couple here in the town where we live, and they have a couple apple trees. And they just called me and said, "Hey, Casey, we've gotten what we want. We can't reach the rest. We don't want it to go bad. Do you want to come over and just pick as many apples as you want?" So, of course,
Mm.
I jumped in and I said, yes, please.
Mhm.
And grabbed my little apple picker and went over, and we were able to get 50 pounds of apples for free. Yeah.
Wow.
And they were Golden Delicious and Granny Smith. Beautiful apples, organic, wonderful. And so we were very blessed to be able to grab those. And now, of course, I have my work cut out for me to turn them into apple juice and apple pie filling and apple sauce, all the different
Oh, save
apples.
those scraps. Save those scraps because you can make apple scrap jelly.
I
Delicious.
was
It is like liquid gold. And you can make your own apple cider vinegar.
I
Yeah,
was
I was
about
gonna
to say,
say
have y'all
apple
done
cider
that?
vinegar.
Yes. I've made my own apple cider vinegar and
Yeah,
I've
I
made
do.
apple
I do
scrap
pear scrap
jelly.
vinegar.
Oh,
Oh, apple scrap jelly. I am gonna try.
yum. So
The
delicious. And you don't have to add pectin.
Well, the woman that started
Okay.
the Every Bit Counts challenge, Jessica at Three Rivers Homestead, did a recipe on both the apple scrap jelly and one that I had never heard of, and I wanted to get y'all's opinion on this, but it was a mixture of apple and tomato barbecue sauce. Does that sound
Silence. Gobsmacked. I don't have any idea about that. What about you, Anne?
No, apple and tomato barbecue sauce.
Mhm.
Okay.
It
Well,
sounds delicious.
I
It
that
sounds
I'm
good.
it
excited to
does sound
try.
different. Um, and there are apple flavored bacon and apple flavored all types of things, so it would certainly add an interesting flavor in there.
No wonder Eve was so tempted. Apple can do everything.
Make plum barbecue sauce, and it's amazing. Oh, plum barbecue
Yum.
sauces sounds that sounds delicious to me. To be able to put on like a pork roast or something. Or
Yes, I think that's
although,
what she used it for was, to like pork roast in the crock pot over the winter.
right, that's right, that's right.
Yum. And speaking of plums, if you've ever made a plum jelly or a plum jam, put a stick of vanilla in with your plums when you're cooking them down, and you get that plum vanilla jam. That is so good.
Woohoo!
And it cooks a little bit longer just to extract all that vanilla, but delicious and yummy. But yeah, I would like to learn more about the apple barbecue sauce. That sounds really interesting. We had barbecue sauce on our dinner last night, even though I'm a vegetarian. I don't find
Okay,
many things I can throw the barbecue sauce on, but I do
right
love me some barbecue sauce.
there you go.
Give me a good old slice of vegetarian pizza, and I'll dip it in barbecue sauce and ranch all day long.
Well, that actually brings us, speaking of apples and applesauce and apple vinegar and apple barbecue sauce and all the delicious apples, brings us to our next, you guessed it,
It's time for
Do-do-do-do.
subscriber comment call out. Pew, pew, pew. I have to say, Anne, we're not usually this cheesy, but then I'd be lying if I said that.
Do-do-do-do. I can't help it.
Okay.
Well, Alicia works as a voiceover artist now because of her do-do-do-do's. So
Yeah, that's
I
fabulous.
I because you mention it, I have to say it before we get to this call out. I really did work for a radio station for voiceover.
Oh, that's awesome.
she
I would
really
love to
did.
work
actually
for
really did.
voiceovers. I worked
was
at a
a lot of
radio station as an announcer for a long time, but no voiceovers.
Both
Well,
of
I
y'all
can
have
see
those
that.
radio voices though. Both of y'all like have those soothing, like we have a station here in Georgia, 104.7 The Fish. And there is a woman at night, Delilah is her name. And she
Yeah.
has this soothing voice that is just wonderful when she reads the scriptures. And that's when I
Oh,
hear both of y'all's voice, I'm like, oh, I think Delilah from 104.7 The Fish.
well,
Delilah, when you have such a smooth voice at nighttime, Delilah, you're just putting all your listeners to sleep.
No.
It's like a bedtime story.
I have been accused of that, I can tell you.
Well,
Putting
let me
people to
call
sleep.
out this Hannah. I'm sorry if I butcher your last name, Hannah. Does anybody else want to try to not butcher
I
it? And
believe it's Michaela.
Hmm.
Michaela, okay. So comment on this video if we pronounced it wrong. But she said, perhaps it's too early to ask this type of question, but I want to get a head start on my research. What do y'all do to prepare your garden for the spring? Once everything has died and is no longer producing, do you let everything just compost in your garden, or do you rip it out? Do you throw it away? Also, during the fall and winter, this is a longer post.
It
What do
is.
you do to prep your ground? Y'all go over to the Facebook group to read the full post because I get the
Hmm.
gist
I
of
think
her
we were
post.
duped into thinking it was about apples.
I think we were oopie duped. Um,
These look
but
like nectarines to me.
are they
Are they?
nectarines?
That's what they look like.
I need to get my glasses out. But to answer your question, can't speak for Andale or Lalisha, but I am always a puller outer for my garden, and I start prepping for the spring really roughly around like October, November, when I finally pull the final thing out of the garden, which would be my fall stuff, my broccolis, my winter squashes, all of that kind of stuff. I go ahead, I pull up, I'm a row cover person. I pull all my row covers up, I pull all my trellises up, and I go ahead and I fertilize and get it ready and let it sit throughout the winter. What about you, Andale? Are you a garden puller outer, or do you let it compost right in the garden, or what do
Oh
you
no,
do?
it drives me crazy if it sits there. Once
Right.
once it's lived its life and it's done its thing, it's time for it to move on. And
Yeah.
what we do as far as preparing our soil and so forth for the garden is at usually by January, most everything is gone that we have here, and we do use row cover weed barrier anyway, and so it's not a terribly difficult process to just get the crops out. What we do is we take the weed barrier up and cover all of our leaves from our yard, get all our leaves and cover the whole area with that, and that is what we leave for the winter time to be able to insulate the soil, to break down, to
Yeah.
become soil, those types of things.
Well, I'm going to be the lone holdout here because 2 seasons.
Ooh, we may have lost Alicia.
I was wondering if it was me.
Well, I'm sure Alicia had a wonderful comment. We'll wait for her to get her mic and stuff set back up,
There we
and
go.
just talk about that. So, and you said you were a ground cover too, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
I love
do.
mine.
I can't stand weeds. I can't
Me
stand pulling
either.
weeds. I am so lazy is the problem. I mean, people go, "Oh, what a gorgeous garden." Well, it's the lazy man's way because
Right.
it is a lot of work in the beginning
It
to
is.
put it in. We do use breathable weed barrier
Mhm.
so that when we water our garden, the weed barrier is breathable. It's not a hard plastic, and it allows the water to go through to be able to water the crops as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, it is. It just makes it easier. And we have a creek in our backyard, and so that leads out to the Albemarle Sound. So we do have a lot of quite a number of snakes that are in our area, being right on the water and being in a warm environment. So, you know, I want to be able to see where I'm walking.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
Can
there
you
she
guys hear me
is.
back? Am I back?
She
You
is
are.
back.
I don't know what happened. I don't know where I went. I don't know how we can go so long without hearing my voice. Because, I always chime in. I was going to go back to saying that what I was saying before when nobody could hear me. So everybody, pat yourself on the back if you were able to miss out on that, and consider yourself lucky because here I am.
No.
Usually in the past, I have pulled everything out of my garden come the end of fall when everything is done. This last year, so last fall, 2022, I had been doing a lot of research about overwintering your garden because a lot of your pollinators have laid their eggs in the debris, in your leaves, on your stems, your bees, your good pollinators. All of them have laid their eggs, and you don't want to mess with that. So I let my garden overwinter this last year. Then spring came, and I was so excited to get out there. And lo and behold, every lovely little robin in the area had decided to build nests in my leftover garden.
Oh my goodness.
And so then I couldn't disturb them. I
course.
I started to clear what I could, and it was really upsetting the mothers. And it's like, I can't do that. So I did not clear out the garden. And then by the time it got to the point where I needed to plant the garden, I'd lost my garden mojo.
Oh no.
And so I was going to be out of town anyways, and I didn't want to have my husband water the seedlings, everything. So it's like, I just didn't do anything with my garden this year, and I'm going to blame it on the robins. But I did my good deed for the robins, the baby robins. They were so adorable, and all of the pollinators that had a chance to just thrive in that garden. And now I've turned my chickens and my turkeys and my pig loose in it, and they're just having a blast.
Oh, good.
So they're turning everything over there. Of course, they've kicked a lot of the dirt out of my raised garden beds. I don't know what I'm going to do now. But this next spring, when I have a garden, when fall comes around, I will be clearing it all out again, because if I can't utilize the space, it does me no good. And I'm not the type that's going to say, sorry, Robin, you and your egg's going to have to go. I won't do it. So I would rather not grow there than disturb that. And I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I did that.
I know, it's really sad when we have to mess up the birds.
But I loved seeing the little blue eggs, and then they hatched, and then there were all those little peeps, and she had 3 little babies in the one nest that I was really able to
you had like a country mama hotel for the birds. That was your...
I did. It was the Feathered Inn.
The feathered
in. Okay, I love that.
I wanted to read out this comment from Two Doves Bees and Gardens. We typically cut things off at the top of the surface. We also use cover crops. I've heard a lot about these cover crops. I haven't tried it yet, but a lot of people really swear by covered crops in their gardens to put nutrients back into the soil. Because what some people don't know is, if you do, like, I still have my dead tomato plants in my garden. 1, because of laziness. 2, because of all the nutrients that plant had soaked and eaten up during its life. When it dies, it will go back into the soil. So it will give it back to your soil so that you still have a good, healthy pH level, but you have your good nitrogen, you have your good phosphorus and your potassium that it sucked up before. So that's one of the reasons. But the main reason is laziness that I haven't pulled it out. Just wanted to shout out that comment, but it's a good kind of segue, and we didn't plan this, y'all. I'm just saying, we totally did not plan this, but I think it's time to hear from our sponsor, because Kelzyme is something that you should put in your garden over the winter. It is a sea kelp, and it is absolutely wonderful, and we are so blessed to have them. So we're going to send it off to a Kelzyme commercial real fast, and we'll be right back.
With gardening season in full bloom, Kelzyme certified organic products are just what your garden needs.
From fertilizing your orchards to feeding your soil, Kelzyme's calcium-based fertilizer gives your plants the essential minerals they need to thrive.
Applying Kelzyme to agricultural soils and waters has been proven to increase plant and crop yields while making vegetables and grains healthier and more nutritious.
In addition, Kelzyme can help restore the nutrient balance in animals when they're fed plants grown using Kelzyme in both soil and water.
To check out all of Kelzyme's organic products, visit kelzyme.com and use our promo code HeyBale for 10% off of your purchase.
Well, that took me a hot second to unmute my mic. Say that 5 times fast. Sorry about that. I'm so glad that Kelzyme is sponsoring us and that we've had the opportunity to use their product because it really does great, wonderful things for your soil and
Oh, yes, it does.
for your plants, for your animals. It really has a great compound to utilize, and it's all organic. And the reason I say that I'm glad is because Casey, you're talking about things that are dying and using them as a cover crop, and Mama here, I just hope Papa doesn't listen, because when Mama goes, I don't want him to use me as a cover crop because I've got a lot.
Well, that went south pretty fast.
I've got a lot that I could put as a cover crop because Mama covered a lot of square footage. But so I'm
Goodness.
glad we've got Kelzyme, because if he's listening, I would rather him use the Kelzyme than spread Mama over the garden as a cover crop.
There
Oh, my
might be a little
goodness.
something on the law books about that. You never know. But
I think just a little something there, Dale. Just a little one.
Oh, friends, we're not going to
But
say something, are we? I made the
oh,
mistake of saying that once. Don't be saying something.
oh
something,
gosh.
something. But Dale, you said you have not tried Calzyme before, right?
I have not. I'm a newbie and I am new to this product. I'm really looking forward to giving it a try. When I had mentioned something to the three of you, then everyone chimed in and said, "Oh, you have got to try this. It's wonderful." So I'm really looking forward to it.
And Dale, I will make sure that I send you a link. And for anybody who's listening, Kelzyme, if you go to their Facebook group or their Facebook page for Kelzyme, Kelzyme, and yes, also if you use our hay bale, it's one word, hay bale, you get 10% off of your order. But Stina from Kelzyme had come out to my farm, and I did a farm tour with her, and I showed her the controlled study that I had done with my tomato plants without Kelzyme and my tomato plants with Kelzyme, and it is a tremendous difference. It's incredible. No blossom end rot.
Oh.
Big, beautiful tomatoes. I had tomatoes that were so thick I couldn't even hardly get in there to harvest.
Well, my
They were
goodness.
just so beautiful. So it
Aren't
really
you
does
smart?
make a difference. So check that out if you haven't had a chance to check that out, because
Absolutely.
it's a
I will
wonderful
be doing
product.
that. But we have had a problem with blossom end rot the last 2 years, especially. But it's only on one particular brand or species of tomatoes. My Dixie Reds have.
Dixie Red. See, I
Yeah,
have
they're
issues with it
falling.
with my Roma tomatoes. I get blossom end rot. But I did Amish paste and Romas last year when Stina was out, and they were just gorgeous. But again, it was a controlled study. I had 2 separate beds. They got the same amount of sunlight. They got the same amount of water. One had Kelzyme, one didn't. And
Wow,
it really was a stark difference.
that's
Hey,
awesome.
also, Dale, that when we were talking with Stina, and Stina is she's the marketing director for Calzyme and marketing through all of us influencers, and she is so knowledgeable that she told us also putting a little bit in chicken and turkey's waters or your animals' waters or
Okay.
in the chicken dust bath
Okay.
is really good for them. It's just an amazing product. And we talk about it all the time here on the podcast and on the morning radio show. One, not because they are our sponsor, but two, we have all, me, Monica, and Alicia, have tried it for over a year. And it has brought my garden back to glory. I've had no blossom end rot for this past 2 garden seasons. And my fruit trees, I didn't, the first year I had, when I bought this homestead about a little over a year ago, it was right before the spring gardening season. And I have 3 plum, 3 pear, and 3 peach trees. Now, where I could not save the peaches, sadly enough, I did Kelzyme at the base, the stump of the plum trees, and let it sit. And I didn't get any the first year, but this year, thanks to Calzyme, I was hauling 5-gallon buckets of
What? That's unheard of. Just in
Ch-
the
I'm
first 2 years?
just in the first year
Mhm.
of putting it in the spring.
Oh my
And
goodness.
we're so excited. Y'all will definitely need to subscribe and come back next garden season to see what Ann thinks. I have a funny feeling she's going to be
I'm gonna
sounding
be
just like
dumping that
us.
stuff everywhere. That's gonna be fantastic.
Now, I don't know if we're going to get her to chime in on our little saying that we have for Kelzyme, but I do want her to know it's spelled with a K, so it is okay. But we like to Kelzyme the crap out of everything. We just Kelzyme the crap out of everything. We're like
Ah,
Monica. We just like skip and zhuzh and throw Kelzyme everywhere.
there
Monica's
we
the
go.
pretty
Wonderful.
princess that throws it everywhere.
Monica is the zhuzhing princess with her Kelzyme. But really, you just put it in the beds. You incorporate it into the soil. You can put it into water and pour it into the soil. You can add it to your animals' water. You it can't it can't go wrong. There's nothing that can go wrong. It's completely organic, and it's from these ancient kelp beds.
That's what I was
Um,
wondering what it was made of.
yeah,
What is it?
it's ancient
What's
kelp
this?
beds that is derived out in the deserts in California.
Oh, okay.
So it's 100% organic, and it just adds those nutrients. It is so wonderful.
Well, kelp is very healthy for your garden. So that's and your
Yeah.
animals.
Yeah, and so it's a great thing. So you know what? You know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for
Do-do-do-do.
Subscriber comment call out. Pew pew pew. I love how you got Andale in on this one, Alicia. You got her in on this shenanigan.
Well, we wouldn't expect anything less from our new co-host for
There
Around
you
the Hay
go.
Bale. We're going to drag her along with us, kicking and screaming, even if we have
Oh
to spell it
gosh.
different. Our next subscriber comment is Kate Norris, and Kate was kind enough to share with everybody these beautiful eggs that she's getting from her new flock. She says that they're 5 months old and they're just starting to lay. And look at all of the beautiful colors of the eggs that her hens are producing.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
wonderful. It's
5
wonderful.
months old. That's crazy.
Aren't those pretty?
They're
Now
beautiful.
I get everything but those dark green eggs. If Casey scrolls up a little bit there, she's got some really dark greenish olive eggs. I don't get those, but I do get all those other colors. I've posted pictures like that, and I've
Oh.
had friends say, you must have photoshopped that because there's no way you get all those colors. And no, it's true. If you diversify your flock and you have different Easter eggers, and I have Well Summers Easter eggers, and I have the Barred Rocks.
Uh-huh.
And I get this wide array of colors just like she does here. And it's a beautiful thing to go out and find those in the nesting boxes. So,
Oh.
Anne, do you have eggs where you are?
I do. Actually, I don't know.
Eggs. Yes,
We just started. And it was when was it? April, something like that, when we had it was this past April. Black's Tropical Homestead actually donated 2 female chickens. There are silver laced Wyandottes.
I
And-
want those so bad.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Oh
And
wow.
they were about 4 months old when we got them. So it took them 6 or 8 weeks or so to start laying. And then we got addicted, like, the chicken mouth thing.
Oh,
And
yes.
so we went to Tractor Supply with all the grandbabies and let them each pick out their own chicken. So they're all different types. And then Worth liked the red chickens. And so we got those. And now we have 6 other little girls that we're trying to introduce into the big girls, but I'm having a hard time.
How are you trying to introduce them to the flock, Anne? Give
Well,
me a little idea what you're doing.
They're all in the same pen, but the little girls are separated in their own little section. And the big girls go in the chicken house, but the little girls have a little protective cover inside the chicken pen. And they all get out to free range at the same time.
Mhm.
But the big girls are still picking on the little girls. And so I'm scared to death to put them all in there together. But
Well, let
I
me
mean,
tell
they're
you what
like
I do.
5 months old.
Now, I like that you've got them all in the same space so they can get acclimated to each other. But this is what I do, and you can give it a shot and see how it turns out for you.
Okay, thank you.
Once they're big enough where I can incorporate them into the regular flock,
Mm-hmm.
aka when they fly out of their own enclosure, when I can't keep them
Right.
contained as much as I'd like to, I go in at nighttime
Mm-hmm.
and I will take them out of their little pen that I've been keeping them in, and I put them on the roost in between the other hens.
In
At
between
nighttime,
them.
in between them. The hens, they can't see at nighttime.
Right.
They don't have the vision to see. They don't have that capability. So
Oh
I
my
will go
gosh.
in and I will just pluck one little teenager and I'll stick her up on the roost with the other chickens. I put all of them up there. I usually have like a dozen of them and I'll just sporadically put them around. In the
Oh.
morning time, the hens that are already established, they wake up and they look at this chicken next and they go, "Oh, who are you and when did you get here?" And then like
Uh-huh.
everybody's fine. I don't have the bullying, I don't have the picking. All of a sudden they're like, "Oh, hello." And
Okay.
everything seems to work out okay. Now, I've done that with 3 or 4 runs now of new chicks, and I've never had a problem. Now, occasionally, you're gonna have the picking because, I mean, I just don't think you can get away from it. But
Right.
as far as incorporating new chicks that I wait till they're teenagers,
Yeah, they
once they're
are.
at that stage, that's the way I've always introduced them, and I've never had problems. And I've done that even with the turkeys in the same area as well. That's how I introduce everybody. I go in by the cover of night and I
Mm-hmm.
pluck them and I put them up on the roost and they seem to do fine. So you might want to
Okay.
try
And
that.
I will. Well, I knew about the nighttime thing, but I was gonna get Worth to put new roosts on the other side. I mean, our little hen house is not huge. It's about the size of a shed, but I was gonna get him to put some different perches in there. So, but I didn't think about putting the new girls because the two old girls, not they're not old, but the two first
Senior lady.
Older.
the senior ladies, um, they really sit side by side. I mean, they're like touching each other.
Hmm.
And you put them in between them or on the
I mean,
side?
if you have to move them, then that's going to disrupt where they're at. Then don't. But put one on either side of them.
Oh,
If you've got 2 girls sitting together, then just start plucking the other girls and putting them up there somewhere.
well, I could
And
do that.
yeah,
Well, you know what's so funny is hearing y'all talk about this with our chickens. Our chickens aren't laying the eggs yet, but they're starting to form their cliques, like the little
Yeah.
high school cliques uh,
Mhm.
of who hangs out with who. And it's so funny because they have these little personalities, as we all know. And you go
Right.
out there, and if one of the girls, now see, I don't know if mine are girls or boys yet. I know that some of them are boys because they've been cockadoodle doing off the chain. Um, but you'd see like one of them run out and then the other one notices that his best friend just ran out there, so he'll run the exact same way, yeah, as his friend did and go stand right beside him. I'm like, y'all are a trip, just a trip and a half, huh?
Oh my
well,
goodness.
there's a reason why when you get a bunch of ladies together and they start gossiping and talking, that's why some people say they're just like a bunch of old cackling hens, because the chickens do form their own little groups. They do have their own little social hierarchy. And that's also why you have things, like the pecking order.
Right.
You have to go through the peck. There's pecking order with pigs. When we would bring a pig in, the pigs have their pecking orders and they have to
Okay.
establish who's in charge. So
Okay.
when you do this, you still might have a little bit of a hierarchy to work out with the girls,
Yeah.
but it won't be as bad as just saying, what do I do with these 2 separate groups? You have to integrate the groups. And as was
Yeah, they have
mentioned
to
in our
be.
comments, it's the best way to do it is at nighttime.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Casey?
we're
Well, I
planning
was
on
gonna
doing that this week.
I was just gonna say when we all were talking about the chicken coops and building new roosts and areas for your chickens and fencing, that kind of brings me to another comment call out that I
Here we
think
go.
would be a good way to segue into it. So here we go.
It's time for
Do-do-do-do.
Subscriber comment call out. Pew pew pew.
It never gets old.
I'm telling you, I now maybe in the next 5 years when we keep on doing that, friend, it may slowly start getting older,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I
We're
can't
gonna
see
we're,
it.
we're gonna get letters.
Right?
We're gonna get
No,
emails. Please stop.
but no, this one is from Tammy Barton. Oh, Alicia, friend, take this last name. Y'all know I'm terrible at pronouncing people's names.
Oh, yeah, because I don't even have my readers on. Let me put my glasses on, friends. Nafla.
No,
The K is silent. Nafla.
Nafla. Okay.
Yeah.
And it says, I need advice. We are putting up fence next week. Which one would be better? We have horses that range from 13.2 to 16.2, boar, goats, goats, livestock dogs, 2 pigs, cooney crosses, and we may add some small mini cows down the line. A is 48-inch tall and B is 60.
Tammy got a lot of good comments. If you scroll down a little
she
bit, she got
did.
quite a bit of help from the group. She's got 30 comments there, and this
Let's
was
see
a
if I can pull up the
2.9
comments.
thousand post reach. So a lot of people had a lot of great information, and a lot of it really is from what I read in the comments. You have to do a combination. There are ways where you could do combination between the two to get the best of what you need for each individual type of livestock that you have. Now, I'll tell you, we had all kinds of stuff, and our goats just destroyed everything we had. So as far as the goats go, I don't know what to tell you, Tammy, because they even destroyed our pipe corral fencing.
And I've heard that same thing about pigs too, that pigs, when I had the Blands out to my farm last year, her sons are so super knowledgeable. And we have an area that we're turning into a pig pen area. And he went in and he looked at all of them. He was like, well, you're going to need to do a little combo of what you have here and add this and this and that, that kind of stuff. And that's why, looking at both of these, I need to go back and read some of the comments, but I would think that you would need to lean more towards a more heavy duty cow panel rather than these utility fences. Especially for all those, because it's horses, it's goats. Livestock dogs won't really tear up anything. You got 2 pigs that could tear it up, and wanting to add a small mini cow down the road.
I just want to say to Tammy, if she finds out that she adds a small mini cow and what she has set up doesn't work for her, I'd be more than happy to adopt the mini cow. It can come live here.
It can go live with Alicia. And see, this is when, even though we say, Monica is on location for an assignment, but she would be probably the best one. She is in the chat. So we're going to have Monica comment in the chat.
And I think she commented on this post. I think if you scroll down, she did comment in this post.
Did she? I was also kind of looking at our Facebook one and our YouTube comments. Because again, I don't have much knowledge on that. I'm so glad that you got such great comments and such good reach. I would say B. If I had to choose one and I was going to win a car, if I was choosing one, I would choose B. What about you, friend?
Well, I will be honest and say that we do have both types of fencing here on our property. So it really does depend on whether you're going to have separate enclosures for the separate animals. I mean, are they all just going to be in one big happy pasture the way mine was? I don't know. But we do have both, as well as we have, the corral fencing, the pipe corrals. We have all types of stuff here on the farm. But it really does boil down to what your needs and what your uses are going to be. If you're listening to this radio show right now and you want to hop on over to the Beginning Homesteaders group there, and you can give some insight on what you've used and what you think works best for your homestead, that would be appreciated. She's got 30 great comments now, but if you've got something to add to it and you're putting it in the comments for this radio show right now, make sure you follow up and go over to the actual group and put those comments there so Tammy can see them, because she might not be able to see them if she's at work today, or if she's busy. She might not be in this radio show to know what people are saying. So make sure that you follow up and do that. And they are costly. Costly.
I was about to say, Carmen, I thought the same thing. I was like, hoo-wee. And they're costly. Everything's gone up. Everything has gone up.
But if regardless of which one you go with, I know that I had read a comment that mirrors what we did here. Is it doesn't matter whether you've got the 48 or the 60-inch, it really is beneficial to do a hot wire.
Right.
Do a hot wire above, a foot above, and at the baseline, a foot up from the baseline. That way, if they touch it, they'll step back a little bit.
And they'll have to, of course, learn. So
the cattle counters are great, but if you've got I'll tell you right now with the cattle panels, and if you've got goats, they will get their horns stuck in the openings of the
Yep.
panels. So you're going to want to have that, 2-inch by 3-inch fencing either in front of it or in front of it so they can't get their heads in there. Because we've had to do that. I've had to go down and get a goat unstuck from one of the cattle panels because they put their head through and then they can't get it back out. And then if you want to, it's like WWF down there with me trying to wrestle a goat and get
I think we should have seen that on a video, friend.
there was no time.
There was
There
no
was
time.
no time. And now we don't have goats here on the farm anymore, unfortunately.
Oh, and
I
there's
miss them
Monica.
terribly.
There's
Hot
Monica.
wire is amazing, she
Hot wire
says.
is amazing. And I think that's what they do for their cows. I think their cows are on hot wire. I could be wrong. Monica, comment if I'm incorrect. And I have been known to be incorrect on a lot of different topics on it. But
You
yes, it's crazy that goats are insane. Why I hear that from so many people, Alicia, is
they you know what? They're just like toddlers. They're
okay.
just like free-ranging toddlers. They've got to go
Mhm.
everywhere, do everything. We had ours on the top of our vehicles, and they were eating our windshield wipers. But I used to love it when they would get out quite often. I would love it when they would get out and then they would come up onto the deck and walk by the windows in front of the house here and just like peek in and say, "Hello, mama." And it's like, "Oh, my babies are out," but they never left the farm. They were so good about never leaving the farm. But one day we had a heavy fog roll in and they got discombobulated and turned around and they ended up at my son's farm a mile away
Oh my goodness.
trying to make it to the farm and they got lost. And this was at midnight. And I'm telling you, you could not see your hand in front of your face. And Papa Jim and my son was out there trying to guide these goats back home. And they ran to another neighbor's farm and then they just hunkered down inside of their tractor barn.
Bless
And
their
I tried
hearts.
for hours to get them home. It took 2 days. I still never got them home. They were petrified. And so I ended up calling a young lady who was going to university to become a vet. And she had 27 acres and she was willing to give them another home because I couldn't ask that of my husband to go out
Right.
at night and try to wrangle these poor guys up anymore. And did I cry? Oh, did I cry when those little guys had to go home? But the point is it didn't matter what we did for fencing. They
That's true.
always got out. And
Mhm.
like you say all the time, they have to be on the payroll, and they were doing more damage than we could keep up.
Right.
And as much as I love them, I had to concede that it wasn't healthy for our situation anymore, and it wasn't fair to my husband.
Oh,
So
agreed.
they had
Agreed.
to go. And you know who else had to go? Ann
Who?
Dale. Ann Dale has kind of stepped out of our radio broadcast this morning. She's got some things to do. And
She
we'll
does.
talk about that.
We
We'll talk
will
about
at the
that
end of
right
the
when we get to
show.
the end. Yeah. So it's just Casey and I. And we
It's
started
just
this
the two loud
podcast.
mouths now.
We started this podcast or this radio show talking about our podcast that we had Ann Dale as a co-host on, as a guest. Actually, she was a guest there. She's going to come back as a co-host later. But we were talking about pantry preparation, and you brought up the point that we didn't talk about coffee. And now that we're here talking about what we may have missed out on, I'd like for people to start putting in the comments as you're listening over here in YouTube and on Facebook. What would you put in your pantry? Let's do a little round robin with our listeners right here.
Yes.
And what would you put in your pantry to prep? Now, some of you are prepping right now for a hurricane coming through. Some of you may be listening on the West Coast where you guys just had that tropical storm blow through. And I know I was in communication quite a bit with my son. Well, 2 sons that are still out there. And, what are you guys doing to prepare for this tropical storm coming in? Because you shouldn't be prepared just for when the storms come. You need to be prepared ahead of time. So you're not doing like what Ann Dale said. You're not going to the store and all of a sudden everything's gone. You need to be the one who's ahead of the game. So in the chat, why don't you guys start commenting? What would you put in your pantry to be prepared? We're not talking about canning green beans. We're talking about preparing for, those times when an ice storm comes or a hurricane comes or something like that. What would you put in your pantry? So
And
I'm
while
going
we're
to
waiting on people in the chat, I just do want to say that when we talk about things like this, when we talk about these on the podcast, because we get these comments, and I know they're inevitable to happen, but we are not fear mongering.
Oh, absolutely not.
We just want you to be prepared, and you never know everything that will happen. And if you are a little bit more prepared, if you've listened to us and you said, hey, that sounds like a great idea, let me add this to my pantry. We hope you never have to use it. But if it does happen, we want it to be there for you because we want y'all to be safe and able to eat and have heat and whatever you need. So I just wanted to say that we're not fear mongering. We really do want you to be prepared. And we want you to click our Linktree link and go to our Amazon store and check out all of the stuff that we recommend from that link. That is what will fearmonger you, is our Amazon shop. I'm just kidding.
No, but
Just kidding.
my son always says it's better to be prepared than be paranoid. There's a difference. There's a fine line. We are not pushing paranoia at all. We are just pushing preparedness. And one of the things that I had in my pantry, or I should say have, is when I first started really putting all of my pantry items together, every time I went to the store, I would buy 2 jars of peanut butter. And once I got
she is the peanut butter.
Once I got up to like 14 big jars of peanut butter, my husband said, do we really need this much peanut butter? No, we don't need this much peanut butter. But as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast here, I'm preparing that pantry for 14 people. Right. And if my children and grandchildren have to come here, like if we're going to have a suspected blizzard and everybody comes to the farm where we're all going to, ride that blizzard out together, my grandbabies need peanut butter.
Right.
If I don't have power,
because you can't have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich without peanut butter.
Right. And I could come up with all kinds of things for the adults to eat, but that doesn't mean that the grandbabies who find themselves in a situation that's a little stressful for them, it doesn't mean that they're going to enjoy eating it. But my little grandbabies will enjoy a peanut butter and jelly sandwich just as good as anything. And that way, at least I know they're getting a little bit of protein.
Well, let me say that we've had a couple comments in the comments. So we have here honey and jalapenos. I like the honey jalapenos. I definitely like because I need them for Mexican food. No. Seriously though, frozen meals and canned soups, same. I have tons of canned soup and meals in a jar. Monica had said that before, the meals in a jar. Mm-hmm. Important. I learned that from Alicia doing meals in a jar. Carmen said cane sugar, wheat berries, salt. I think I'm smelling some baking going on, Carmen, from all of that. I ain't trying to look like the crazy bunker lady.
Wait, go back to that last one. Carmen said hair gel. I got to know about the hair gel. I ain't trying to look like a crazy bunker lady.
I know.
Writing on my list, go buy hair gel.
This is also a good one. Also having things that can be bartered.
Absolutely.
Alicia, I know I've asked you this question before, but I'm sure that I have not asked the people in the chat. But when you Google it, what is the 2 top items that you should have stocked up just in case you need to barter?
Now, I don't know.
Monica, don't comment.
I don't know what it says on Google, but I know what I think are the 2 top items.
What are those?
Freedom seeds.
No.
Okay, and alcohol.
Alcohol, yes, and cigarettes, number 2.
Well, I'm not stockpiling cigarettes, but I do have freedom seeds, and I know their worth. And I know they'll be good for bartering.
Well, the good thing in the little small town where I live, I would be like Oprah Winfrey rich if I had cigarettes all the time. Just because this area loves them some cigarettes. They love them. I mean, you just see them walking down the town with 2 hanging out of their mouth. So that is what I will have. Grace and Fire. Hey, Glenda. Started buying Augustin Farm products. These are the things I can't freeze dry the items myself. And thank you for putting that because we are just so excited.
Preach it, brother. Preach it.
We are we're going to start shooting a continuation of our podcast. Y'all know we pre-shoot the podcast, but we're going to be recording 12 more episodes because we've been ordered because season 4 has done so well. We won't tell you who is going to be joining us for these 12 episodes. You'll have to come back and find out. But we are now Augustin Farm affiliates, y'all, here at the Hay Bale. So if you need your August and Farm products, we will have a link in our link tree. You get 10% off of your purchase if you use Hay Bale. Let me see if I can pop that thing up one more time. There we go.
Now, is that for August and Farms as well?
It's for everybody. Anytime that you hear us talk about an affiliate one, all you got to remember is Hay Bale.
And
Just
it's
remember
effective.
us
It's
here.
in effect now, right? For
It
August and
is.
Farms, it's ready to
It
go.
is. And you can go to our Linktree link, and I'm trying to do like 9 things at once and pull up our Linktree link to drop it in the chat.
Casey needs 8 arms like an octopus.
I just did, and I just posted it. It is the Linktree /Round the Hay Bale, and you'll go there. And let me tell you, our Linktree link is so cool. And I'm going to pop it up here on the screen before we sign off. And you can find everything you need to know about Round the Hay Bale. If you don't know where to go to listen to our podcast, there it is. Apple, Spotify, Google. If you want to know more about Alicia, click on Get to Know Alicia, Get to Know Casey, Get to Know Monica. And you got Kelzyme to use the hay bales. You got 4 jars to use hay bale 10. And I haven't put it on there yet. I am so wonderful. I forgot to put it on there. So I will put it on after we get off on the live.
But
over there.
Point being, if they go to August and Farms right now and they put in hay bale 10, they should get their discount.
Well, there is a website that you need to, or a link that you have to use that will take you to the affiliate link for the hay bale instead of just the regular site.
Okay,
and
so everybody hold off on ordering until we get that link.
But we want to not only push you there, but we want to push you over to Ann Dale's Tuesday. You know, we just absolutely adore Ann, and I'm pulling it up now so y'all can click on the link and head over to
show her some love.
Stuff.
Let's start a love train. Over to Ann
Yes,
Dale.
let's do a love train, a hay bale love train over to Miss Ann Dale. And I am going to put that link right now.
For those of you who don't know what a love train is, once you go over to her, just say that you're coming over from
the hay bale.
The hay bale, coming over from the hay bale to give her some love. And that way you give her love and you give us a little love in return. It's all about the love because we didn't get enough love as children.
But y'all, go check us out. Make sure to listen to the podcast from yesterday. And I'm going to let Alicia sign this one off the way that she does best.
Oh, goodness. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. We are a little bit over on time, but we've had such a wonderful time. We want to thank Ann from Andale Homestead for coming on over and spending a little time with us. You're going to be hearing from her more over the next several months. She's going to be joining us on several occasions, and we just love her and thank her so much for joining us. And I apologize for just kind of like hogging the mic the whole time. She didn't get to say much, but the little bit she did get to say, we appreciate. So make sure you tell her that when you go on over, that you loved hearing her here today on Hey Y'all Hey. Make sure you check out our podcast. Make sure you go over and join that homesteading group, Beginner's Homesteading Guide, 67,000 plus strong. And make sure you come back next week to join us here after you listen to the podcast that drops on Monday. Stop in and listen to the radio broadcast on Tuesday. Until we see you then, we want you to make sure that you take care of yourself, take care of each other, have a blessed week. And again, for everybody in the path of a storm, please remember to just be prepared. Don't be scared, and take care of yourself. And we will see y'all then. Bye, y'all. Bye.
Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Round the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we fancy.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central.